Yeah, here I am. Okay, yeah, I figured it out. It was a privacy setting thing. I have no idea how it got shifted. I have a feeling it was something that Facebook did automatically without telling me because I don't punch buttons randomly and I don't change settings randomly. So anyway, okay. So sorry about that, guys. I see you there. I'm not going to start to read at this point. It's already 2:35. I deeply apologize. It's I mean, I'll definitely hang out for a little bit here and just apologize to anybody who might have picked it up. But I'd have to go back and put down um, new URLs and all that stuff. And by the time people found it again, it would be quite late. So I think I'm just going to cancel out tonight. I apologize. As I said, I really have no idea. But anyway, hi Cliff, hi Ilva, hello Dirk, hello Chris, hello Petra, hello Ronnie. Those folks are all there. Good to see you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for helping me figure it out. It was, as I said, apparently a privacy setting thing. It was very weird because, as I said, I don't touch these things. The last thing I want to do is make more interesting problems for myself, since my experiences traveling in technical land are already very confusing and disheartening at times anyway, like Alice in Wonderland, except that more of the critters bite when you're dealing with high tech. It's also funny because it's just there are just so many possibilities. You know, you start breaking things down and you're trying to do something in real time, and anyway. So I again I apologize. I think we've got it solved now. So I think I'll be doing the regular reading tomorrow. For those of you, especially in the Eastern time zone, like my friends Ilva and Dirk and whoever else is of the group here are overseas from where I am, I do apologize. I didn't want this to happen, needless to say, because otherwise I wouldn't have stayed up late to do it. Um, but again, at least we seem to have figured out what the problem is so that tomorrow we can go back to something resembling a normal, or tomorrow for me, can go back to something resembling a normal broadcast. And maybe, who knows, maybe I'll read extra long next week or start a little earlier or something, or start earlier and run later or something to make up for it. I do apologize. I hate when stuff like that happens. It really ticks me off. Anyway, I am here. If anybody wants to throw something into comments, a question or whatever that you might want to have answered, I'll be here for another few minutes. But as I said, it's gotten late now, and I don't want to start something and only be able to read for 20 minutes, and I don't want to stay up till 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It's tough enough to get to sleep anyway after I finish with this stuff. So anyway, I hope you're all still seeing this and that we have solved the problem. Oh, yeah. Okay. There they all are. Okay. Oh, here's another weird thing, which is the comments. Link appeared in your author page, not on my own page. Oh, bizarre. Anyway, yeah, no, it was apparently I just had something happen to the privacy settings. Again, I don't know what would have done. Yes, I escaped from the Gantt hive, Jeremy. It's true. And I am covered in slime. Anyway, so Ilva asks about the Bobby Dollar story. Well, what I'm trying to do is I have 90% of a Bobby Dollar story that I've come up with in the last few days. And because I am waiting on different stuff from different people, so I can't at this point plunge back into Navigator's Children. I can't plunge back into Brothers of the Wind because I'm waiting for my publisher on that one. And for various reasons, I don't want to jump into the third Ordinary Farm or Tinker Farm book, as it's called in Germany, because all three of these will need a good sustained length of operation to be able to work on them properly. So as a result, I said, you know, I'm getting depressed. And as I found out when I had my shoulder operation, I'm not good at consuming. I need to make things. And I realized that part of the problem is I spent so much of the last month or so preparing for rewrites, but not actually getting to do work. So just prepping things and making notes and collecting other people's notes and collating them, and and at a certain point I realized I'm not actually doing anything in the sense that I need to feel normal and healthy and like I'm contributing to the society around me. So when I say 90% Ilva, I don't mean it's 90% written. I mean, I've got the story in my head, 90% of it. I still have to come up with a particular little MacGuffin, which somewhere later on up the line I can tell you about once the story's finished and you've heard the story, and then I can go, okay, now that I'm not going to be giving anything away, here's how that all worked out. But but I would like to take this time, if I could, to write a Bobby Dollar story, and I've got enough time that a Christmas story seems appropriate. So that's where I am on that. I don't have a title for it yet, or I would share it with you. I don't have really anything else about it I can say. Now, someone else asked a question. Len, has anyone ever approached you about adapting Dragonbone Chair and the rest for games like D&D? Well, I don't know, not specifically about D&D, but I know that Ron, who is one of our regulars, and along with Ilva and others, has been helping me with the books in terms of knowing the material really well, better than I do. Ron actually has been running a role-playing game of some kind based on the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn books for a long time. I don't think there's been anything more official than that, but I'm sure Ron's RPG is very official. So if you want to get a hold of Ron, I think he's on Facebook and other places under his own name. Or you can track him down on the Tad Williams message board under Firsfron, Firsfron, or Ron Hyde, I think on Facebook, when he comes and joins us on our readings. Yes, there's Ilva saying just exactly the same thing to Len. So yes, Ron has been doing it for a long, long time. He knows the material. He and Ilva both know my books better than I do, but that's because they've read them more often. Anyway, hi Tash. It's lovely to see you too. I'm sorry that we're not doing an official thing. Wouter, there is an Otherland game. There's also possible other things going on with Otherland that I will tell you about when I can tell you about. Christine asking would I consider turning them into TV series or movies? Of course I would, because as I always say, I'm not one of those people who believes that, if somebody does an adaptation of your work, that it's like, the primitive belief that a camera steals your soul or something. I mean, if somebody does an adaptation of my work and it turns out to be not exactly what I would have done, it doesn't rewrite my books. The books are still there. So yeah, I'm very open to it. And in fact, there are usually things going on that I can't talk about because, the 95% rule, which I originally took from the Beatles song written by George Harrison, Taxman. There's one for you, 19 for me. Well, he's talking about taxes, and specifically about taxes during the mid-1960s for Britain's wealthiest folk. But what my version of the 95% rule is that, for every 20 approaches that you get, only one of them is ever going to turn into anything. But you have to treat them all as though they might. So, for every one that turns into something, you have to do like 19 things where you do your due diligence and you provide people with synopses and you talk to them about ideas and you listen to offers and all that stuff. So that's basically where I am. There's oftentimes discussions going on. I'd love to be able to tell you what they are, but I mean, we just went through like 7 or 8 years or more on Tail Chaser Song before it collided with the murderous Saudi government and burst into flames. So that's another story. If I haven't told it to you, I'll tell you sometime. But anyway, so that's where I'm at on that stuff. There are things being discussed. There are possibilities, but I don't know which ones are going to turn out, even though some of them seem more likely than others, and I have to work on all of them as though they might turn into something. Jeremy suggests a Bobby Dollar Hanukkah story, and that would be a good idea too. I may be too late in the year to get a Hanukkah story done on time, but I will certainly consider it. This one have was actually almost had it was almost a Festivus story. I was at one point when I was first thinking of it, I was going, well, I could call it "Have a Holly Jolly Festivus," or various other variations on the theme. So I'm not locked into Christmas because I'm a practicing Christian or anything. I think everybody knows me, knows I'm pretty a-religious. I don't think anybody's wrong, but I haven't found anything that convinces me that it's right either. So I tend to believe. I was actually just thinking about this today. I think, if religion brings people solace and happiness and a feeling of security in the universe and purpose in their lives, I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's great. I think any philosophy that helps you to do that, whether it's a religious philosophy or not. But my problem, as I think also people probably know, is I don't think anybody should get to say, well, my religion, well, maybe their religion can keep them from doing things, but they can't keep other people from doing things. They can't say, my religion demands that you do this. And that's the problem. That's the problem with religions, is that people think that it's, that what they believe in personally, their own personal set of beliefs, are a mandate from God. And if there's enough of them that share those beliefs, then they become even more convinced that everybody should listen to them. But, there's, as far as I'm concerned, there's a very fine difference between any religions, from the craziest, wackiest, we're going to fly away to space in the back of a comet, to the most long-lived and, established and settled religions. As far as I'm concerned, they're all interesting ideas. And if people want to believe in them, that's great. But I don't think you ever make public policy. You make public policy on the basis of things that you can compare and people can test, and so anyway, that's where I am on all that stuff. So again, I'm totally fine with everybody who is religious and who has beliefs that make their lives a better thing, and I haven't found one yet, and I doubt I ever will. I think the universe is so much bigger than we can understand, and when I say the universe, I'm not just talking about the physical universe. I'm talking about the nature of reality. We have such a tiny, tiny little window. We have such a narrow amount of equipment with which to judge it. We have done fabulously well, essentially, as a bunch of primates. We've done amazing things to get to the point where we can understand as much as we do, and where we can think about the universe and ourselves in the way that we can. But we still know virtually nothing. And the wall of knowledge is going to continue to recede ahead of us. Every time we think like, oh, okay, here's the new theory of everything, we're going to find out that there's levels of complexity beyond that we're not even close to, So we're going to, when I was a kid, we didn't even know that there were galaxies beyond our galaxy, and just in my lifetime, we've discovered not only that we're just one galaxy, the Milky Way is one galaxy out of 100 billion or more galaxies in the universe, but we're beginning to learn that the universe itself may not be all there is. We're beginning to see real, actual mathematical suggestions that it's very possible that we live in some kind of multiversal system, which, how do you wrap your heads around that when you're basically a monkey like I am? You don't. You love it, you're fascinated by it, but you don't pretend that, you have the answers. And scientists don't pretend they have the answers. That's the great thing about science. They're not telling you what to think. They're not telling you what to believe. They're telling you, this is, using the scientific method, this is the best we can do right now about answering these questions. And anybody who says science is a religion doesn't understand. They just simply don't get it. They think that scientists sit around going, well, I think the Earth probably revolves around the sun. Yeah, let's all say that. No, the scientific method is about trying to come up with things that can be tested, and tests that can be done by anybody who has the equipment or whatever, and that can be replicated and proved again and again. It's a form of practical question asking and answer getting, or at least the limited answers that we can get. So anyway, I don't know where I got started on all this. Oh, because I was talking about Hanukkah and Festivus and Christmas. Yeah, Ronnie, you're absolutely right. The answer is 42. We all know that. Doug Adams told us that a long time ago. But that's all the more reasons, since I think we're making this up as we go along, in the sense that life is, first of all, I think this is a big tad thing. I think life, it has been much misunderstood up until fairly recently, that we were positive that life was something that had to happen in these very complicated situations where there would be a certain amount of chemicals, and a planet had to be in what's called the Goldilocks zone, which is not too hot, not too cold, not too much gravity, not too little gravity, et cetera, all these issues. I am convinced that life is, in fact, something that we now can see arises out of complexity. And because of that, anywhere at any time that complexity becomes sufficient, the possibility for life will exist. That being the case, yes, the things that are going to be most like us are going to be on water worlds or, similar kinds of setups to what we have here on Earth. But we found even on Earth, that there are anaerobic bacteria that live completely off the heat energy of underwater vents and things like that don't ever see the sun, and live at temperatures that we never thought that any terrestrial living thing could live at. We find mats of bacteria growing in volcanic pools. So nobody knows what shapes life might take. But I do think life ultimately is a very, very important thing, not simply because it's what keeps us from being dead, although that's definitely a useful part of it, but because life and the way that it skims along on the edges of entropy and harvests the offshoots of entropy, that life is the only anti-entropic force. So that when we talk about the universe as, this kind of machine that is continuously running toward entropy and towards the dispersal of heat, and to the ultimate separation of everything to the point where there's no longer any interaction, I say we don't know yet what the role of life is going to be. And I'm not just talking about human life. I'm not talking about us zooming off into space with our, white military, blah, 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 1950s science fiction thing, where we're going to go out and set the universe straight. I'm talking about life as a system, life as a process, life as a thing that tends to arise. And life is basically the self-perpetuation of information. And that is anti-entropic. And I think we are going to find out some really interesting things about life, including the fact that there are probably life forms probably within our galaxy that we might not even recognize at this stage of things, because they grew up or grew out of a completely different matrix. We're out of this carbon organic matrix, water-based, blah, 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 all this stuff. But life seems to be a complexity that rises out of complexity and is a self-replicating form of information. And that's completely different than everything else in the universe. So I hold back on having any firm religious or philosophical ideas about things because I'm not equipped. I'm equipped to think about them. I'm not equipped to answer them. And if I'm not equipped with my interests and my science fiction background and my love of history and science and all that, if I'm not equipped to answer them, nobody else is equipped to answer them for me either. They're able to give me little bits of things that they know, but nobody else is able to tell me, well, I know how the universe works and I know what God wants or whatever. So anyway, sorry to get into that long screed, but that's just to say, for those of you who just showed up, I'm talking because I started talking, and once I start talking, it's kind of like pushing something heavy downhill. But the reason I'm talking is because I didn't do a reading because we had technical problems that I think are now solved. So anyway, at this stage, before I start off on anything else, and Tash mentions that octopuses are aliens plotting their domination. Actually, octopuses are really fascinating because of the fact that they have such a different evolutionary course than we do. Octopuses and squid, for instance, completely disprove the idea of creationism because they have those particular kind of cephalopods have superior vision to ours. They came up on an entirely different evolutionary track, and they never developed. They skated right around the problem that we humans have, and most mammals have, which is that our optic nerve runs directly into the back of our eye. So there's a hole in the middle of our vision that the brain compensates for because that's where the optic nerve connects to the back of the retina. But squid and octopus don't have that. They don't have a hole in their vision that their brain has to compensate for. And as a result, they actually have a better and more efficient eye than we do from a completely different evolutionary path. So if you're going to believe in creationism, then you have to also believe that God said, squids need really good eyes. Humans, nah, I'm going to give them the second-rate eyes. That kind of kicks a bit of a hole into the whole thing of making us masters of all the animals and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, again, whatever you want to believe is fine with me. I don't begrudge anybody's belief. And if it makes you happy, it makes me happy. Just, you know, don't try to tell me that I have to behave according to how your idea of religion works. Holger asks, do I know the flying spaghetti monster? Of course I do. Pastafarians, yes, absolutely. And Wouter wants to talk about prairie dog language. Yes, prairie dogs. I mean, you know, the world is so much more complex than we ever understood. Animal intelligence is so much more complex than we ever understood. Animals have, you know, there's not, for so long in human history, we wanted to believe there was a firm dividing line between humans and animals. You know, that it was, and between animals and plants, you know, all these things that we wanted them to make sense and fit into these nice little, you know, Linnaean squares. And of course, one of the things we found out is that animal intelligence is very complex, very hard to assess, and that animals are a lot smarter in general, especially, you know, the animals we've been able to test are a lot smarter than we thought they were. They have much more complex systems. They are basically just a different track on the evolutionary ramification, you know? So they developed as much brain power as they needed, but quite a bit, most of them. And we developed the brain power that we needed to do what we were going to do. But none of this was with an eye toward like, okay, first we'll have animals, and then we'll have this total jump into a completely different kind of thing, which is human beings. No, we have jumped out of our normal place in the ecological scheme of things, and human beings have now covered the earth and are oftentimes, I think we are at risk of destroying ourselves, you know, due to misuse of the earth that we live on. But we aren't different. We aren't different. We are still animals. And anybody who has ever had an argument with a hungry family member, you know, when the blood sugar crashes, knows we're still sacks of meat. We're animals. We just happen to be animals who wear clothes and read books and are self-referential. But other than that, we're monkeys. And I'm okay with that. I like monkeys. Anyway, and with that, because I'm ranting now, and it's easy to get me started ranting, and it's hard to get me to shut up. So I'm going to go again. Thank you so much for being patient. I'll be back at 7. We will apparently have got it knocked now. And we will go back, and I will continue reading from War of the Flowers. But until that point, I thank you for being patient with me. I apologize for the screw up. I still don't know how it happened, unless one of my kids was using my computer for something, which is possible. But anyway, or it could just be Facebook. The Facebook is, every now and then they throw a new Facebook iteration at you, and they could have done that and started it out with a default on, all things turned to privacy. Because I normally have everything on public so that everybody can read everything, whether they're one of my Facebook friends or not. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to go. See you soon. Be good. We're okay here. I hope you're all okay on your end, and I will. And it's always lovely to know you guys are out there. So be good, have fun, stay out of trouble, stay safe, please, because we obviously are having, especially in America, but I'm sure everywhere. Actually, I know most other places they are also having resurgences of COVID. So be safe, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Okay, thanks. Bye.